to de-stress this weekend, to renew so that you were ready to go back to work today, this morning? How did you feel when your alarm went off this morning? Did you dread it? Were you excited to go back to work? Share with me in the chat if you played this weekend, or if you dreaded or was excited to go back to work this morning. If you weren't excited, it means that either you are in the wrong job or you did not play as hard as you worked to de-stress and renew. So it is your responsibility to do that. And I hope you did it so you can go to work to add some much needed value in the world and be your best self. So, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling extremely excited. I had a great weekend. I definitely practiced stress management. I hope you did. Share with me in the chat what you do this weekend and how you're feeling. So I'll go ahead and get started. I am Ebony Davenport, and I teach stress management. I show people how to utilize fun management solutions to decrease stress and counter burnout so that they can be happier, healthier, and well-balanced. I use over 50 tips, tools, tricks, and techniques to manage stress. But today we're going to talk about imagination. Yes. So I want to start with our stress chat to talk a little bit about stress and talk about how imagination can help you with de-stressing. So as far as stress, everyone knows what stress is, but it's kind of hard to talk about, right? We all have different ideas and different definitions of stress, and there isn't one single unifying definition in the literature. In Eastern philosophies, is considered the absence of inner peace. In Western culture, is considered the loss of control. Stress is problematic because it's ambiguous. Stress definitions differ. Stressors vary, affecting people's mind and bodies differently. So again, what is stress? I like to blend the Eastern philosophy and Western cultures say that stress is feeling out of control instead of inner peace. There are 3 steps: perceiving a threat, which is called appraisal, coping, and adapting to it. In the stress community, we talk a lot about the relationship between a person's perceptions, needs, and abilities in the condition of the environment. So how we perceive control over our environment causes stress. There are 2 types of stress: distress and eustress. Okay, so distress is the stress that we normally talk about when we say we're stressed out or it's causing stress. It is the negative type of stress, but we also have eustress, which is considered the positive type of stress. It's when you're graduating or going on vacation or getting married. It's all of the positive stressors that happen to you in your life, regardless of whether it's positive or negative stress. Depending on the severity, duration, and frequency, stress is not good for you. Now, in small doses, stress can build diamonds. Basically, it can make you better. It builds anti-fragility. It makes you more resilient. But constant stress is bad for you, regardless of what type of stress it is. And so stress management is just managing how much stress you deal with on a day-to-day basis, like how many stressors you have that are constantly in your life, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's in your friend group, spirituality, whatever stressor you have. Stress management is honoring the pause from when something happens to you. It's honoring the pause, being mindful, and then determining whether you want to respond in a way that will meet your needs, satisfy your goals, and have little to no consequences. And so when there's a stimulus, we can automatically just react without even thinking, without even pausing to consider all of the factors of the situation. So stress management is just changing from stimulus, pause, react to stimulus, pause, respond. And although many of us react without even realizing that there's an opportunity for pausing, there is. And that's what stress management is. It's honoring the pause. Stress management is mindfulness and prevention. So most stress comes from thinking about the past or worrying about the future. But when we are using our imagination, we are in the present moment and all of our attention is focused on what we're doing. There isn't any room for anything else to enter. So when a stressful event occurs, it activates the fight or fight response. This response triggers the release of stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol. If the trigger is perceived as eustress, and the physiological responses and production of the cortisol are short term. But if the trigger is perceived as distress, we are ready to act with quick instincts and thinking. But our system does not go back to normal until we perceive that the thought is eliminated, or the problem or the stimulus is eliminated. We process stimulus in the three steps that we talk about, which is perception, coping, and adapting. But if we change the way we perceive stress, we change our responses to stressors. So one way that we can change our perception to stress is through our imagination. So we have a potent tool that we forsake for adulting. Although we stop using our imagination for positive reasons, it doesn't go away. Our imagination is a very powerful neutral source. We can use it for us or we can use it against us. Using our imagination in powerful ways that benefit us is called active visualization. The opposite is called negative thinking. When we were children, we spent hours upon hours engaging in our imagination. We blended our imagination, senses, and perception to understand the reality around us. We used our imagination to change what is to what we thought it should be. As teenagers, the way we engage with our imagination is through our dreams and daydreams. We visualize the career, the house, the mate, the friends, and the experiences we want. Then suddenly the clock hits and we stop using our imagination. As adults, we might stop dreaming altogether. Reality hits and we lose faith. It is irresponsible to dream. That's the message that we constantly get. Or we don't have time to dream and we turn off our imagination for action. But what is action if there isn't a destination? As professionals, we wake up every day projecting negative experiences by experiencing and visualizing the events of the day. So, how many times do you wake up, you go and shower, and you start to think about all the negative things that can happen, will happen throughout the day, as opposed to thinking about the positive things that can and will happen, or just kind of placing them or putting yourself in the mindset of allowing positive or joyous things to happen to you. You're just kind of dreading all of the bad things that can happen. And it's because, again, we switch to adulting. And I would say don't succumb to the child or adult duality, because instead of it being either or, it's and both. In America, we have a strong work ethic and it is valued, but over two-thirds of our population is extremely unhappy. Nations with less are happier. So look around. How many examples do you see of miserable adults who do not play, who just are not enjoying the experience that they're having? Play is the cure for the misery. I mean, it seems very simplistic, but it really is. Play, using different forms of play, will help to increase the satisfaction in your life. Humans are designed to be lifelong players and built to play from any age because we're forever juvenile. We are neotenius. Nitinius, which means forever juvenile, which means we can play until we die. We actually benefit from playing until we die. The human mammal is shaped by evolution to be the most flexible of all mammals or animals. As we play, we continue to change and adapt into old age. Play seems to be so important to our development and survival that the impulse to play has become a biological drive. Like our desire for food, sleep, sex, the impulse to play is internally generated. The world we live in came from the imagination. Thought is the first creation and form is the second creation. So when you have an idea, like, think about it, we were using fire to cook food. So when we thought like, oh, we want to move to an oven or a microwave, that was an idea in someone's imagination first before it took form and became a part of our reality. So therefore, everything that we see in this reality was born from the imagination first, and it came into fruition through play. Somebody practiced body and movement play, or object play, or imagination play, or creativity play, and so many different types of play to bring that idea into fruition. And it all started in our imagination. The idea, the thought started in our imagination. So play is very critical in our society, not necessarily work, but play. James Missioner said that the master in the art of living makes no distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his reactions, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both. And that's kind of how we want to think about work in our imagination, or work and play. Play or work should be an extension of your play life. And imagination is just a form of play. So our imaginations are so powerful. We can go anywhere, do anything, be any person from any seat. From the seat of our mind. So we can do anything from our imagination, right? It is not childish to use our imagination. It's vital to our well-being and satisfaction in life. So there's three types of play or imagination that I kind of want to talk about today, although there's so many different ways to use your imagination into play. But the first one is imaginative play. Imagination is perhaps the most powerful human ability, and this is according to Stuart Brown. It allows us to create stimulated realities that we can explore without giving up access to the real world. Throughout life, imagination remains a key to emotional resiliency and creativity. Deprivation studies demonstrate that fantasizing, imagining the inner life of others, and comparing it to one's own is one of the keys of developing empathy, understanding, and trust of others, as well as personal coping skills. So it just kind of reminded me of a lot of the stories that I read about the Holocaust, how people projected themselves beyond that experience into real life, teaching again or having a regular life again, and things going back to normal. And that's how they were able to survive. The second one is the explorer. Each of us started our lives by exploring the world around us. Some people never lose their enthusiasm for it. Exploration becomes their preferred avenue into their alternative universe of play, their way of remaining creative and provoking the imagination. And this is me. I love explorer play. I go out of my way to do that every single day. The third one I want to talk about is the storyteller. The imagination is the key to the kingdom of play. Storytellers are a course of novelists, playwrights, cartoonists, and screenwriters and poets, but they are also those whose greatest joy is reading the novels and watching those movies. People who make themselves a part of the stories, who experience thoughts and emotions of the character in the story. So again, this is mostly everyone, or I would say everyone, because we are all creating our own story. We all have our own story to tell, and you are your own storyteller. So you have the opportunity to tell a story, to write a story, to make the story, to create the story the way you want. This is an opportunity. Living is an opportunity for you to show up and have the experiences that you want, as long as you're willing to work at it. And work should not be more of an obligation or a chore. It should feel like play. Play can save our lives. Life without play is a grinding, mechanical existence organized around doing the things necessary for survival. Play is the stick that stirs the drink. There's a kind of magic in play. There are great benefits in play. Great benefits to play, including increased speed, accuracy, efficiency, creativity, innovation, cooperation, and the ability to become smarter and adapt to the changing world. Through daily play, our brain keeps developing, adapting, and finding new ways to enjoy life. So the takeaway is, to use your imagination for your benefit. It is one of the most powerful tools you have to design your ideal future. You have the power to be who you want to be. You have the power to do what you want to do, go where you want to go. You are created with the power to create. How powerful is that? I'll say it again. You were created with the power to create. That is very powerful. Make sure that you are using that tool. You're utilizing it. You are utilizing creativity and innovation and using your imagination to bring the life into fruition that you want. You deserve it, and it's up to you to do it. So I hope this helps, work life warriors. Write in the chat if it does. I'm here. Join me every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. Mondays, I give a new tip, tool, trick, or technique to manage stress. On Wednesdays, I do deep breathing. And on Fridays, Fun Funny Fridays, I do laughter yoga. So please feel free to join me. I also give at least 15 tips, tools, or tricks or techniques at my stress management fun shop every third Saturday of the month. The next one is September the 17th. So again, please share with me if it helps. Go out of your way to manage stress. This is the beginning of the work week. So do your due diligence, laugh, play, manage your stress. It is up to you. It is no one else's responsibility to manage your stress. It's yours. You have the opportunity to add some much needed value in the world. So let's do it. Let's be proactive about being the change we want to see. So again, I hope this helps, work life warriors. Have a great day, and I will see